This is the last time I'm going to try doing this video. I think possibly because my camera or my phone is overheating because it's so goddamn hot in here. It's been stuttering and heating up and acting fucked up. So we're going to try this one more time, and I'm going to try to make it brief. This video is going to be a little bit different than usual. Here's why. These Machinetech V-brakes, or linear pull brakes, they're new. Well, these are actually new old stock. However, they're new to the shop, they're new to me, and I am just trying to, with you on camera, get a handle on how this shit works. It seems needlessly complicated, but oh so beautifully put together, and we're just going to play for a little bit and explore this on our own. So, a minute in, and the camera's not stuttering or acting crazy. I did throw the shit in the freezer for a little while, so we'll see how long we can keep this going. And again, I apologize. I'm trying to run through this as quick as possible because I've spent an hour like filming and stopping and filming and stopping and deleting and putting my phone in the freezer. If y'all have any suggestions on an inexpensive 1080p or 4K camera that is a standalone camera that I can purchase, you know, if you're a YouTuber also, or if you're a photographer and, you know, you have opinions about this type of stuff, I would love to hear your opinions. So, Machinetech brakes. First thing to notice, what do we have here? We have 3 anchor points for the cable. 1, 2, 3, said the guy who counted them backwards. 1, 2, 3. Why? Well, my guess is that they did that to make the brakes adjustable for feel. Lots of other companies have done it or implemented it different ways. So, number 1. This is a classic, just like a, you know, 2nd or 3rd generation mountain bike brake lever from Shimano. These are some of my favorites. I really, really like them. They've got a few interesting features. Like, number 1, they don't use like a little coil spring wrapped around here like you find on a lot of modern brakes. What they do have is a small spring inside of this little pot, and this piston presses down on it. You see that? So I always thought that was a super neat way to do it. The other thing that's cool about these is you can adjust reach by tweaking this little flathead screw. Basically, so right now we're in our like outmost position for big-handed people. Oh my God, Becky. Click. Do you see how it's jammed into this position now? So for my little weasel hands, that would be just perfect. I think there's one more position. Yeah, there's like a half stop for medium hands, and then you can just keep going around and around because it'll just reset back to 0. So this is a traditional cantilever mountain bike brake lever. If you're ever curious about what cable pull your brake levers or brake levers that you want to buy are, if they don't outright state it, the general rule of thumb, and this isn't universal, but this works for 99% of levers out there, is from the pivot to where the cable anchors. You can see that that's about 25.4, which is 1 inch. This dimension here is about 1 inch, right? So if you go past that, if it anchored up here, you're getting into V-brake territory. Now, there have been lots of companies doing lots of different things to make them adjustable, and this Forte is an example of one where, see, right now it's set to the cantilever position. I turn this knob, and that little cutout, that little window opens up. I can actually pull the carriage up into that V-brake position, and you can see that they've kindly put a V up top and a C down here for cantilever. So now this is, for all intents and purposes, a linear pull brake lever. I like the adjustability. This is actually part of the worst avid brake lever ever made. This little chicklet of natural rubber does the exact same thing. So to keep it in V-brake position, I would jam this guy in here, and then I would move it inside of the C and jam it right here if I wanted it in cantilever. So, I think probably different ways of adjusting your brakes feel, or whether they would pull what, are probably covered by some patents or some patents pending. Now, as far as the lever goes, you know, I can see these as being available in a 1-inch, an intermediary, and a linear pull brake setting. The trippy part is the brakes themselves are also 3 settings. Look at that. So I'm not sure that the intention with this was to make it compatible with V brakes or with cantilever brakes. I think that they're just trying to let you dial in the feel of your brake using those 3 positions. Isn't that strange? This item, having never owned it, we're basically exploring this together. We're taking a look together on camera at this product and just seeing what we notice about it. You know, if I miss anything, let me know, but we're just gonna explore this random, rare-ass piece of American mountain bike tech. So, another nice thing, they have clearly manufactured their own pad carriers. They're not using anyone else's off-the-shelf brake pad carriers. They have made their own, and helpfully, they have an arrow engraved into them. Now, why do they have an arrow? Well, if I had $1 for every time people had their brake pads installed backwards, I'd have like $17. You don't have a back to your pad holder. You see how this is dovetailed in there? So what happens when it's in the correct orientation is your rim is rotating this way. That forward momentum, when you stop, is pulling the brake pad forward, but luckily for you, there's a wall right here, so it doesn't matter. If you have your brake pad set up backwards, the only thing keeping this pad in is this little cotter pin here. There's a cotter pin that goes all the way through the whole thing into a little slot in the rubber and keeps it in place. So this is kind of funny because I've seen literally like more than a dozen people with their brake pads on backwards. However, I have never seen someone's pads fly out the front onto the road in front of them. So, you know, this little cotter pin does its job. Still, it is very, very cool that they engraved a little arrow for you. So, for all of you basic mechanics deficient people, you have clear instructions. The next thing I notice about these is that they're utilizing a no-pin style spring. So what do I mean by that? Most cantilever and V brakes, they have a coil spring in the back of the brake which plugs into a hole in the fork. So your fork itself, oh well shit, I don't have one handy. Your fork itself has a corresponding receiver hole just to the inside of the brake bosses. You take your brake and the small protruding piece of spring gets stuck in that hole, and that is how it imparts the spring tension onto the brake. Now, Paul Component Engineering, Diacomp, and apparently Machinetech use my favorite way of tensioning a brake, where everything is contained within. Do you see the wrench flats on this piece of silver aluminum here? So the basic premise is your bolt, so you have nothing, no spring is touching your fork or your frame. You sort of tentatively bolt this to the brake boss, you know, make sure you grease it up first. And then what you do is you twist this using a cone wrench or anything that you can grab it without marring it. You will actually twist some spring tension into this. When it has reached the spring tension that you desire, you hold it there using your wrench, and then you tighten your bolt down, and it will actually keep that amount of spring tension in there. So that's a really neat way to do it. They're also super duper easy to adjust. So I'm a fan of that. So far, so good on these. They're fairly light, I guess. let's take a look at sort of their machining and see if we see any major stress risers or fit and finish problems. I don't really like how sharp this webbing is here. You know, this actually reminds me, I mean, they've melted it just a little bit, but it reminds me a lot of the webbing failure that you see a lot in the classic campy record cranks, the ones that say like Stratum. On those cranks, so where the spider connects to the crank arm, there's a really sharp piece of webbing where the transition from crank arm to spider is, and that breaks 100% of the time. I have never seen a campy crank from that era that is not cracked. The good news is that a simple round file can fix that. You just find the cracked part, and let's say the webbing of my hand was cracked right here. Cracked. You take your round file, and you would just stroke out the crack. Just get that sharp, shitty piece of webbing till it's nice and rounded like that. Then your crack goes away, you've stopped the crack from propagating, and you know, I personally have ridden thousands of miles on cracked campy cranks that I've repaired. So, moving on with these brakes. We have adjustability. We have the ability to go from any number of 3 settings. My guess is that, I mean, if you look at the length of this first setting, this shit here is pretty much as long as a normal, so the mechanical advantage, the leverage you have, is about the same as a normal V-brake. So it seems like we're starting at normal V-brake and then going up orders of magnitude in terms of power. So that's kind of interesting. The next thing I will point out is this brake system doesn't have a traditional noodle. It has this insane little roll-a-majiggy thing. What's this nubbin, you may ask? Well, it goes straight through, so I think it's probably an alternative routing for your barrel adjuster. So cable in here. My guess is that with some setups, maybe for the rear brake, when you plug this in, the cable is much more comfortable coming in like this and going around the pulley than it is coming in like this. In fact, let's see. Yeah, actually, so probably for front brake, this is set up on the front. Your brake lever, front brake lever is going to be up here. This probably makes a lot more sense for your front brake setup than the rear. You have a set of these, a set for the front and a set for the rear. More likely than not, you will use your second one of these little doodly majiggers to set up your rear. Little nylock nut. Yeah, I mean, I think that the main deal with these is that they're just trick. You know, if you were the guy that showed up to the race with your new, like, frickin' several $100 Machinetech brakes, I'm sure that you'd be the envy of all those dirty boys and girls. But let's be honest. It's pretty hard to out-engineer Shimano, or Paul, or any of those other guys for that matter. So, this is I think it's a bit overdone. You add the special thingy-mabobber, the extra thick custom pad holders, and they're not particularly light, you know? One thing that I bet they are is the comparable Shimano linear pull brake called parallel push. We've talked about this in other videos. That has about 50 gazillion links and pivots and armatures and little bushings. So just for sake of squealing and rattling and all of that horrible bullshit, I would almost prefer a brake that was made out of one solid piece of billet aluminum. I tell you what, Shimano's parallel push brakes are some of my favorites, but goddamn, you ride those for a little bit, and wow, you'd be lucky to just have howling and not shudder howling. You can rebuild them, but you know, basically no one ever does because you can't find the rebuild kits. I have a stupid ass hack that I do, which is I take little tiny O-rings, and so all of the little pivots, imagine that this is one of my parallel push brake pivots. When it gets all gross and loose, I'll just like put an O-ring in to buffer the shuddering and horrible chatter. I don't know, what do you think about these brakes? I have like one set that's new old stock, and one lever. And then I have another set, which is all used and taken apart. Oh, I should mention one other thing. You probably noticed that there isn't a clamp. There is not a clamp on the receiver end of the, I guess if it was a front brake, the left brake arm. What they've done is they use a NARP. I don't know if you're familiar with NARPs, but you're basically making this end of a cable on the other end of the cable. You see how it works, right? There's a hole, you pass the cable through it, and then you're able to clamp the cable in place using this little grub screw. So what's interesting is that you have it basically quick releasable on both sides. This side has the standard issue V-brake noodle holder. This side also has a slot, so you can put it in, take it out. This one, it uses the NARP. Nothing wrong with that, really. I mean, you know, your brakes are really what you're counting on to save your life, so this teeny tiny little 4mm, well, I mean, the thread is 4 by 0.8, and the head is like a 3mm, but this little NARP, and I should point out, it's a single-sided NARP. The ones that I tend to trust have screw on both sides, so you're like crushing the cable. These grip pretty well, but that's all you're trusting your life to with these. God damn, I love American mountain bike fuckery. The creativity of these people. And it's not just like engineering creativity, you know? It's not just like, here, I'm going to crinkle the bag and you'll hate me for a second. Hold on. It's not just engineering creativity, it's marketing creativity, right? So they're not just engineering cool shit, because a lot of it's cool shit that doesn't work. They're trying to differentiate themselves out of a pack of other dudes doing the exact same thing. I love it. It's goddamn bicycle fucking Jackson Pollock. It's bicycle Picasso shit. It's like throwing paint against a wall and seeing what sticks. So, Machinetech. Our mission, to produce the world's greatest bicycle components. We at Machinetech USA strive daily to produce bicycle components that are benchmarks in the areas of function, aesthetics, and price for others to follow. Through the use of innovative design, quality materials, and cost-conscious manufacturing, we have been able to produce the highest quality products at the lowest reasonable price. The future will only bring improvements in the standards we set today. Thank you for purchasing Machinetech USA components. Well, guys, bravo. I did purchase them 20 goddamn years later, and now I'm going to sell them on eBay. So keep your eyes peeled for the eBay listing of these brakes in a little bit. Guys, the summertime is really brutal on me. Let's have a quick heart-to-heart. I have a feeling that my uploading will decrease. I'm kind of a psychopath, so I mean, I can't promise that my uploading will decrease. More likely than not, I'll just become obsessed with it and I'll just make it happen, as evidenced by tonight's video, which literally took me an hour just to record a 20-minute video. But if you've never worked in a high-volume bike shop in the summertime, just bear with me. It is so brutal. I often will spend a couple hours after work just catching up, just, you know, calling people, figuring things out, hacking stuff together, doing standard issue normal repairs. So if it takes a week to get something up, I do appreciate your patience. Also, good fucking job, you guys. I'm at 85 subscribers, and I know that sounds like fucking nothing. That's piddly in the world of, you know, 10 million plus subscriber YouTube channels, but it means that 85 of you care about what I'm showing you or what I'm talking about enough to subscribe, and I really, really, really appreciate it. So keep spreading the word. I'll keep overheating my phone and sticking it in the freezer. And, yeah, you guys are great. Thanks. Have a good night.